From the A to Z studios near Atlanta, Georgia, this is The World from A to Z. My name is Carl Azus. Thank you for giving us part of your Friday. There's a lot of international discussion taking place surrounding an explosion at a hospital in Gaza earlier this week. Gaza is a Palestinian territory controlled by Hamas. That's the group that launched a terrorist attack against Israel this month. Israel responded with numerous airstrikes targeting Hamas positions in Gaza, and thousands have been killed in the conflict. There are conflicting reports about what exactly happened earlier this week at Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital. We know there was an explosion there on Tuesday. Hamas says it was caused by an Israeli bomb and that more than 400 people were killed as a result. Israel denies this. It says the death toll was lower, though still tragic, and that the blast was the result of a failed rocket launch from within Gaza that was supposed to target Israel. That nation also says it has recorded evidence that Hamas thinks the rocket came from another Palestinian militant group. That group also denies involvement and blames Israel for the explosion. Meanwhile, the U.S. says it has been analyzing the blast and the evidence and that it believes Israel is not responsible. All of this is significant because it illustrates how much competing and conflicting information there can be during a war. It also shows how influential that information can be, as the explosion has led to large protests in several parts of the world, with scores of demonstrators blaming Israel. And the fact that Jordan's king also blamed Israel for the hospital explosion likely influenced his decision to cancel a summit earlier this week that would have included U.S. President Joe Biden and several Arab leaders. Concerning information during wartime, there's a whole new category in social media. The conflicts covered in history books didn't have the perspectives or the influence of Facebook, Google, Telegram, and X. And organizations like Hamas, a militant group that's also widely viewed as a terrorist group, are using these relatively new tools to circulate their messages online.
This video, geolocated and authenticated by CNN, is propaganda produced by Hamas and posted on social media to flaunt the success of their attack.
Using propaganda to globalize their jihad against Israel and Jewish people. And they're succeeding because social media platforms are giving them easy access to a tool that allows them to broadcast to billions.
This clip in a Hamas video seems to show hostages against a wall. This video, released by Hamas's armed wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, purports to show a drone attack on an Israeli military post near Gaza. The drone dropping a timed IED on a remote-controlled machine gun. Analysts say Hamas's social media following has ballooned since the war began.
Hamas's audience on social media since that attack on October 7th, it's increased 2, 3, 4, even fivefold on a platform called Telegram.
Telegram, a free speech platform that its founder says has more than 800 million users around the world. Hamas is banned from social media platforms like Meta, Google, and X. But experts say Telegram has lax rules and private encrypted messaging that's been very attractive to militants and extremists around the world. And Hamas is using Telegram in a very sophisticated manner to push its agenda against Israel. But analysts say there's also a huge amount of misinformation circulating on social media about this conflict, including old video packaged to seem like it's new.
There was one video that claimed to show bombing and fire in Gaza, but that video was actually from a few years ago of Algerian football fans celebrating. It was actually fireworks.
But Hamas's ability to use social media to stoke fear is all too real. The New York Times, citing interviews with Israeli families and friends of hostages, reports that Hamas has seized the social media accounts of Israelis who they've kidnapped and posted on them videos of those hostages in captivity and violent messages.
Using them to taunt their families and the Israeli government. And that is just the example of how they will use extreme tactics.
On this date in world history. October 20th, 1803, the United States doubled in size. That's when the Senate approved the Louisiana Purchase from France, adding territory that would stretch from Louisiana to New Mexico to Montana. At a price of $15 million, or 4 cents per acre, the Library of Congress says the Louisiana Purchase is thought to be the greatest real estate deal ever. On this date in 1973, the world-famous Sydney Opera House officially opened. The $100 million building is one of Australia's most well-known landmarks, and it hosts thousands of events every year. And in 2011, a former Libyan dictator was captured and killed. Muammar Gaddafi had ruled Libya for decades. His government was accused of involvement in several international terrorist attacks in the 20th century, but his relationship with other countries improved in the early 21st. Gaddafi was in hiding when he was captured on October 20th. An uprising in Libya had ousted him from power that August. Even when I'm out and about, I've got the world in my pocket. You know you can find us at worldatozorg, but now we are on YouTube. That's right, I'm a YouTuber. You can find us at youtube.com/@theworldfromat. Don't forget the @. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you on the tube. Back in 1955, a woman named Emily Canello Sims checked out a book of poetry from a library in Illinois. Her daughter found it still in the house 47 years later, so she returned it to the library with a check for the 2 cents a day overdue price that also probably dated back to the 1950s. The total, $345.14, which Guinness World Records lists as the biggest fine ever paid for an overdue library book. Why bring all that up? Well, an overdue fine for a book from a New York library could have been much, much higher.
A blast from the past had bookworms buzzing in New York when the Larchmont Public Library received a returned book that was almost 90 years overdue. Stamped as checked out in 1933, the book could have amassed as much as $6,400 in fines, but thankfully the library, just happy to have the book back, capped their fine at a much more manageable $5.
Got some Ramblers watching today from the borough of Carteret, New Jersey, talking about the students in Mr. Tooker's class. Great to see y'all at Carteret Middle School in the Garden State. On the West Coast, we're visiting the Pacific Wonderland of Oregon, where my friend Mr. Torgerson is online today with his students at Medford Innovation Academy.
What's the purpose of the silver lining in chip bags? Look inside a bag of chips. What do you see?
That's the silver lining mini snack bags have. But why?
Companies started to use plastic for food packaging in the 1960s because it's lighter than glass, more protective than paper, and super affordable. But manufacturers needed their savory snacks to last as long as possible, and that's where the reflective material comes in. The silver lining is a combination of a thin layer of aluminum and a plastic called oriented polypropylene, which is the same stuff grocery bags are made of. The material acts as a moisture barrier. If it wasn't there, chips would absorb humidity and basically rot. That shiny film is also great at containing the nitrogen gas that's puffed into the bags before it's sealed. Nitrogen is an inert gas, meaning it won't promote bacteria growing like plain old air will. Oxygen makes the fat in chips oxidize, and that ends up causing it to taste funny. Or not so funny if you are looking forward to a nice snack.
The question is this guy a real dummy or a fake dummy? Surveillance cameras recorded a 22-year-old man in Poland who police say posed as a mannequin, a dummy, in order to rob a store at the mall. No one noticed, and after closing time, he allegedly sprang back to life and stole jewelry. In another incident, after purportedly stealing clothes, he was caught not so subtly sneaking under a partially open gate. Security guards figured out what was going on. The accused thief has been in custody for 3 months and could face years of jail time. Even if he's found guilty, he's still a model citizen. Now that he's been taken into custody, he's stolen a lot of international attention. Maybe he'll get away with writing a book that'll be a total steal and fly off shelves like Crime and Punishment, allowing him to buy time after serving time and legally purchase all his merchandise can see. If someone tells him you can't do that, he can always respond, "Man, I can." I'm Carl Azus. Thanks for letting us steal 9 minutes of your Friday. Fridays are awesome. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. You mean the world to us.